Hi, my name is Jeff Pagano, and welcome to the Harpin on Rugby preview show. Joining me to look ahead to Leinster's next assignment this season is someone back for cap number 67. Welcome back to Mr. Neil Keego Keegan.
67, how are we? I've just noticed my halo is out today. So yeah, I think we're ready for another weekend of rugby.
That's it indeed. Well, listen, since we last spoke, Leinster have had wins over two teams wearing red, Scarlets and Munster. Now, since we're tight on time, I'll just let you pick one. Totally up to yourself which one you want to talk about.
Sure, look, I may as well pick our friends in Munster. To be fair to them, great start. But then once we kind of got 20, 25 minutes in and everything settled after Ross going off and Frawley just putting a massive shift in, it was a little bit of rustiness that affected the scoreboard more than anything else. But look, let's keep it nice. Fair play to Munster for the first 25 minutes. Not much to write home about after that.
Yep, and you also wanted to have a quick word on certain Mr. Farrell stepping back from the Six Nations.
Yeah, absolutely. When we think about what these players are doing and what he's saying, he basically what he's saying is it's affecting his family life. Nobody's job should affect their family life. There's a video that was out recently of him signing shirts for kids, and people were shouting abuse at him. This is a human being. This is this is like Twitter becoming real. We've got to remember that these people are real people. They have real feelings. This is not Ronaldo that you never see. You'll see Farrell in the local coffee shop. We'll see Sexto up the road here. O'Driscoll walks around as well. You say hello to them. They're normal people, and we've got to treat them like that. If Because one day someone is going to say something to Farrell, who is a mutant of a human being, and he's going to make sure that person doesn't talk like that again. And we don't want that to happen. So I know everyone watching and listening to us here are not bad supporters or anything like that. But if you see someone acting like this, just put your arm around them and say, no, this is not what we do over this game, over this side of the fence. Because it's tough when you've got to make a decision to walk away from something from your family's sake. So fair play to him, and I hope him and his family are well.
Absolutely, especially when you tack it on top of all the other stuff they have to do. Especially the he's when you're a captain of your club, you're
Yeah.
captain of your country. There's all the media appearances, the corporate appearances, all that crap. People say, "Oh, they're famous, and they should be able to do all that." It's not as simple as that. And when you're doing all that in the public eye and getting that kind of reaction, it's going to
Yeah.
take its toll. And I've always been in favor of it. Dan Carter did it. Richard McCaw did it. It's you really can't blame them. And I wish them all the best and hope to see him back soon. Okay, so now it's time to look at our feature match of the week, which is, of course, Connacht v Leinster in round 7 of the 23-24 United Rugby Championship. It's taking place at the Sports Crown in Galway on Saturday, December 2nd, kicking off at 7:35 p.m. TV coverage in Ireland is on RTE2, Premier Sports 1, and URC.tv. And as ever, you can find the full listings for the weekend on harpinandrugby.com. Just click the Rugby on TV tab. Leinster named their matchday squad at lunchtime on Friday. If you're watching on YouTube, it's right there on the screen, or for pod listeners, it's in the program notes. Now, Keego has picked out a few points from this lineup. He's starting by looking for what's going to be like under the new coach.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a tricky one. Obviously, last week, as we mentioned early, there was a bit of rust in there, which is to be expected with the guys coming back. But it's going to be interesting to see what he does in terms of this is a guy coming in with a warm World Cup winners medal in his back pocket. How eager is he to put a stamp on a team? What is he going to change? Things are going well. You know what I mean? It's not like he's going in and things are not going well. So it's going to be interesting to see because we know Leo has no ego with the Lancaster appointment. Excuse me. There was a massive amount of little ego, if that makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see what Nienaber does. I don't think he's going to do too much too soon. Although we do have La Rochelle coming up, and there needs to be, even though their coach may not be there at that game, but we need to figure out what we're going to do to keep the improvements in games, in game play, defense, all that sort of stuff going. So it'll be interesting to see. That's the first thing to look out for, I think.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he couldn't get more. When you talk about ego, when you look at who he's working with in the big chair, he couldn't get more of a difference to what he's been used to over the past while. And like I say, I mean, it does seem like that could be the perfect person to come in at this point. When you look at, we've become this team that got used to all these 1 point losses, and he's just after winning a second World Cup with a lot of 1 point wins, and that's there is a fine difference in the ability to grind out get those extra points, and he could be just the thing. But we'll have to wait and see, and we'll be looking at all the technical aspects to the game and see what happens, especially in defense. Okay, so for your second point, you wanted to talk about the Leinster out half position.
Absolutely. So it was, a kind of a baptism of slight fire last week for Frawley. With Byrne going in to make that tackle on Casey, you could see him straight away. His arm was gone. Frawley comes in and he played like he'd been playing for 50 caps in big games. Good kid. I think there was one bad pass at the beginning, and then he was settled right in. Great boots on him. He was shouting at people, especially when Murphy came on at 9. He was shouting and controlling everybody. There was a lot of characters in that team last week to control. And I was wondering what was going to happen this week now, because I would have, again, the game's easy from the couch, but I would have kind of said, look, let's give him a couple of games at 10. Let's give him a run, because he really showed. I wasn't surprised, but it was kind of, he played like a 50 capper last week. And I think the return on that is, let's get him in that 10 jersey this week.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's tough on Ross, but we were even saying before that if we're going to start going with a lot of 6-2 split benches, even though we do have alternatives in Harry and Sam as backups, there's even Charlie Tector there as well. If we're going to have a 6-2 split bench, it makes sense to have Frawley on the bench as that alternative 10 option, because he can play other positions, which is a good thing. But with the way last week transpired, I mean, you're thinking, well, it's the only question this week was, do we rest Frawley to get him ready to play La Rochelle next week, or do we play him to get him some more game time? I would have been inclined, especially the way that URC semifinal went last year when we rested players ahead of playing La Rochelle. I think it would have been better just to put him in there, get him used to starting the game at 10. But of course, Leinster, came up with this silent 3C option and put him at back to fullback instead, which was I mean, nothing against Harry Byrne, but you didn't see that happening. You thought Frawley was going to be ready for the 10 position, but it's a 6-2 split bench, but it's Liam Turner that's on the bench. So it's interesting. So I'm wondering if they're planning on maybe moving Frawley over to 10 at some stage during the game, and to bring Tector on or make a few changes, or Turner on and make a few changes. We'll see what happens there. But listen, it's always interesting, and I'm sure they have a plan in place.
Absolutely.
Your third point is it's actually about a bit about Connacht's side of things.
Yeah. So when you look at the squad picked for this week, a lot of rotation, and Frawley back to 15, Byrne on, all that sort of stuff. Henshaw 13, which is interesting. I think Harry Byrne may end up at 12, and then we shift in Frawley into 10. But I think this is a free shot for Connacht. Return of the Mac down in the sports ground. It's going to be cold. They're going to be loud. They have a strong bench. I think they fancy a shot at our 9 and 10 with Blade and JJ in there. So it's a big game for Harry to boss around. I know experiences there around him, but I do think they fancy it. I do think they fancy their bench. I think they fancy a shot at our front row, and I think they fancy a shot at our 9 and 10. So it's going to be interesting. I have picked. Well, we'll get to the predictions, but because I actually did them this week. But I think they will fancy it. I think they're at home. It's going to be cold. It's going to be loud. It's going to be sold out. And they do see that 9 and 10 in blue coming against them, and they're kind of going, yeah, Blade's not a bad old player. JJ's not a bad old player, and they work really well together. So let's see what they do.
Definitely. We had a podcast during the week with Stephen Murphy and the Master Nun Pod, and giving us an opposition view. Just check back in the feed if you want to hear that one ahead of Saturday. And he just basically, he predicted pretty much very close to this team anyway. They've gone for a 6-2 split bench as well, and there's a lot of quality coming off that bench. And now Murray, Finley, Beelum, Oliver, Boyle. There's a lot. It's going to be right. Go the full 80 minutes, I'd say.
Yeah.
And but it's a starting team as well. I mean, people talk about Hansen coming in, but this lad Kilgallen has done well on the other wing for them this season, and there's a lot of talent around there, and it's going to be very interesting from the start for sure. Okay, so we're going to move on now and look at the officials. It's Andrew Brace holding the whistle, and there's his assistants there on the screen. The weather for Galway. Now, this is the longest short summary on AccuWeather I've ever seen for any prediction. It goes plenty of clouds with a shower in places and chilly. I mean, I just thought it was a stock prediction, wind and rain for
Yeah,
Galway.
yeah.
Always, always, always. But this is pretty much saying that with just a few more words. So that's what's not a lot of wind, though, actually, apparently for Galway, but 55% chance of rain. So actually, that's actually not too bad.
That's summer. Yeah.
There, that's it, exactly. But we'll see what happens there. Okay, so there's also, of course, a full list of fixtures this weekend all over the main leagues. What one other match are you looking forward to the most?
Look, to make friends with our brothers and sisters again. Munster Glasgow is the other game I'm going to watch. Usually it's Leinster and Connacht are the games I watch in full and then highlights of the rest. But Munster and Glasgow, Glasgow obviously on a run of form, beat us first game of the season. Munster trying to come back from last week. I would say Munster feel they left a little bit out there. Now it's upon second watch, it's hard to see what they left out there. Geez, I can't stop throwing jabs at them, but it's gonna be a good one. I think it's at home in Thomond Park. Is it Thomond Park this weekend? So listen, Munster supporters, listening to us because we know you all listen to us. Get down there, sell that place out, make it loud, make people not want to go there. Turn over Glasgow, get this season back up and running.
Yeah, because at our Connacht match, one thing that we're missing is that it's kind of their attack against our defense, and the Munster Glasgow is very similar as well. Munster's, they might be down in 7th or 8th position, but they've the best defense points wise in the league so far, and Glasgow are ahead of us on virtue of more bonus points, so they've been scoring more. So it's they're definitely the two biggest clashes, I'd say, in the league this weekend for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to your prediction.
Yeah, so I picked Leinster and I picked them by 10. The reason I think that is because I think Frawley's going to move in and own the game in there at 10. I think Harry Byrne is going to go into either 12 or 13, and Henshaw's going to move in, and then Turner's going to fit in there somewhere. And I think once everyone settles in, it's going to be a big game. I think Al Alatoa is going to have a big game. And I think our second row is a really nice, robust, bullying second row. And I think after an early start like last week, I think Connacht are going to come and they're going to really go for it. They're going to be loud in there. But I do think it's Leinster by 10. I think I think it's the last quarter, last 20 minutes where class will prevail.
Okie doke. That looks good. Okay, listen, we're going to leave it there, man. Many thanks to Keego for joining us. What stand-up gigs do you have lined up down the road?
So I have a funny one. Tomorrow I'm hosting my kids.
I hope they're all funny ones, man.
Well, yes. But I'm hosting my kids' school fair tomorrow. And then I have a gig in town tomorrow night. So I'm worried about what I'm going to say that might get my kids expelled. So we got to be careful. So I'll give you a review of that next week.
Definitely sounds interesting. All right. And of course, you'll find all those relevant links for Keego stuff in the program notes. Well, listen, many thanks to y'all for tuning into our latest preview show. Enjoy the match wherever you are. Be sure to follow us on all the usual social media channels, including Blue Sky, where we will, of course, have a wrap pod for you this week, recording on Sunday evening, which will actually also be our 300th pod. So hopefully you'll help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing. In the meantime, stay safe, everyone. Slán.